Avast, me hearties!
Ahoy there, you salty sea dogs and landlubbers alike! Thank you for joining us here in the bilges of the HMS Delirium, where this week we are full of questions. Such as, will Jack Sparrow make it to a place called Destiny?
That's the question.
Will our mysterious overlords give us the gift of rum before the end of the month?
That is also a question.
Can we shoehorn any more nautical references into these episodes?
Probably.
And where does all this popcorn keep coming from?
Popcorn. Yeah, just keeps.
Hello there and welcome back. I am Max.
I'm Sam.
And this is Maybe Movies, where we have lots of fun discussing... I was going to say theoretical movies, but I think this week I want to say chimerical movies.
Yes, I suppose I could see,
Yeah. So, if you have been following us so far through March, you'll know that we are looking at the classic 1973 Golden Voyage of Sinbad, and also the equally classic 2003 Pirates of the Black.
Pirates of the Black, okay.
Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl. We weren't even paused this time, so I have no idea.
You've been sneaking into the rum, haven't you?
Only the wine. So, just before we begin, as is becoming something of a thing, just a couple of quick shout-outs. And we are going to hibernate in a pod this week. 2 pods, in fact.
Okay.
Yes, so shout out to a couple of podcast creators. First of all, to Josh Gould and Alicia Hart, who do Dice and a Slice, which, according to their own press, is the only D&D podcast that is brought to you by the power of baked goods. And they're really well. They're on, definitely, I normally listen to it on Spotify, but I think they are on another couple of platforms as well. I'll make sure I put as many of them as I can find in the description below.
Okay.
And the other one is to our old friend and technically Maybe Movies' own Mole Man.
Yes.
Yep, the Dice and a Slice podcast, which features Shane Smith. I've just said the same thing twice, haven't I?
Yes, you have. Are you sure you haven't been at the grog?
Well, I'm trying to stave off scurvy.
Of course, yes, of course.
I think I got away with it. Sorry, yes. All You Need Is Blood, which is a horror movie-based podcast featuring, as I said, the Mole Man, as in when he will appear again, Shane Smith, and people from all over the world, I believe.
Indeed, yes.
So please do check those out, and again, links will be in the description. And one other very, very quick mention for TubeBuddy, if you are a budding YouTube creator. Do check it out. It's a free tool that will help optimize your channel. And again, link from us below as well. And with that out of the way, all aboard, matey!
Alrighty.
As we'd left it, Jack and his merry band were trapped underground after getting their mission statement from the Oracle. And I know at the end of last time, I'd said about what I would put down as my number 3, technically, or my number 1 for Act 3 would technically be an extra one on Act 2 because of where we'd both independently decided where Act 3 starts.
Yeah.
I think we pretty much covered it last time anyway, so that's fine. We were just discussing how Jack would deal with that situation and basically came to the conclusion it would be pretty much the same.
Yes. If anything, he'd be quicker to it, I'm sure. Well, that's the one thing we do know about Jack, is he knows how to improvise.
Yes.
There's no denying that fact. That's definitely a skill he possesses. Not just luck.
Yeah.
Definite improvisational skill.
I can't remember, doesn't he... Because doesn't Sinbad, when he's doing that, climbing up, doesn't the minion attack them?
Yes, the imp attacks, yes.
Yes.
Yes, he sort of gets halfway up the rope and then the imp comes in.
Yeah.
And... they have to improvise. Huron has to improvise an arrow from one of those iron spikes.
That's it. So, he gets out. Now, this is one of those moments where we have to remember Jack. And Jack as Mr. Gibbs says, place things pretty close to the chest.
Yes.
So he's just shimmied up this thing. He knows where he needs to go.
Yes.
There is a school of thought that would say that Jack would kind of just leave them and head off.
Do you mean just climb out and keep going?
Yeah.
Yes. I'll be honest. Yes. Jack is very proud of his little black heart.
Yes, he is.
So yeah, I think so. I don't think he'd go so far as to like knock the thing down or anything like that. But yeah, I think he might. I think he might leg it. Yeah, I'm off ski.
I'm up. Yeah, and then yes, just leave them and carry on.
It's the bit in the prophecy about the crown of riches.
Mm.
That's the bit that's going to appeal to Jack's little black heart, which we'll come to later.
Ah, excellent.
But yes, I think you're right. I think he would probably leg it. Freedom. He's got the compass. He knows where to go.
And they'll just have to catch up.
Yep.
I suppose, again, from his point of view as well, if things do go sour, he knows they're going to follow.
Well, I mean, Jack's not a complete black heart. You know, he goes back for people several times when it's obvious they can't defend themselves or get themselves out of the situation. He goes back for Will a couple of times. And it's not just because he's self-interested, it's also because Will's getting himself into trouble that he can't get out of. So I don't think he, like I said, I don't think he'd do anything to deliberately harm them. He would leave with full confidence that they'll be able to get themselves out of that situation. But he wants that head start.
Which will be interesting now, because with people like the Vizier, who I actually made a note of here, just said, not an evil Vizier, because Viziers normally are.
Yes, I know. He does break the tradition, doesn't he?
This is kind of, in our new version, is the first moment, really, where he's been given cause to doubt putting his faith in Jack.
Yes. Yes. Yes, I think so.
Which I like, something that we kind of, I wouldn't say that we missed, but it wasn't something we sort of delved that far into last week. It's that aspect of Jack that needs to be there to make it feel more like a Jack Sparrow film.
Yes. Yes. That's what I mean. We have to remember Jack's little black heart.
Yes.
I think it's important. I do know. I mean, I liked what you said before last week about like burgeoning heroic in him. I do think that to a certain degree it would appeal to him, but he's still got that little black heart.
Yeah.
You know, and so I don't want to forget that.
Yeah, it is the ideal that he wants to be, as you I think you said last week, this not whiter than white, but there's only this swashbuckling hero who does the right thing, and he does, even in Pirates of the Caribbean, he does the right thing.
Yeah.
And here he's being given the opportunity to do it without having to look over his back all the time. But it's so entrenched in who he is.
Yes.
There are moments where he's not going to be able to say no.
Yeah, even though people aren't treating him like he's a pirate, he still is a pirate.
Yeah. I'm a little bit too proud of it.
Given the correct motivations, he will remember this fact.
Yeah.
I think is what I'm saying. Yeah. And again, it's not like he's leaving them without a clue. The prophecy, the oracle said north, so they have a direction. It's just that he's got the compass, he's got the head start. You know, Jack's doing what Jack does.
If they catch up with him, I was just scouting ahead.
And again, I might be misremembering it, but I do think that it's specifically when the oracle speaks that things like the crown of riches are mentioned.
Yes. So,
up to this point, Jack's been fairly altruistic.
Mm-hmm.
But, crown of riches. Head start me.
Crown of riches, and also the gift of immortality is kind of insinuated in there as well.
Yes, yeah. That may or may not appeal to Jack, but I just know. I mean, it's gold to me. Crown of riches. I mean, it's got to appeal to a pirate, hasn't it?
I was just thinking, I mean, again, I know this is after the first film, but obviously going after the Fountain of Youth.
Yes, that's right. I mean, it did occur to me that it might appeal to him. But the gold is an absolute guarantee.
That's a guarantee, definitely.
Yeah.
So, what did you have for your first scene for this one?
I want to talk about the fight with the statue Kali.
That's my number 2, so that's fine.
Brilliant, yes. In particular, although we saw a little glimmer of this earlier when Haroun fashioned the makeshift arrow, this is Haroun stepping into the hero's role, because it's not Jack who wins the fight, it's Haroun.
Which is brilliant. Again, as these parallels between him and Will and things like that, it's perfect.
Exactly. I mean, as skilled a swordsman as Jack may be, six swords.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, he's going to. But I like that it's not the so-called hero who wins the boss fight.
It's Haroun who jumps in.
Well, it's a boss fight. It's not the boss fight.
Yes, yeah.
I just like it because we'd get a lot of Jack for starters from the fight. There would be a lot more improvisation and climbing and leaping off of things and trying various tricks, probably to little avail. But also Jack's commentary on the situation, especially when Haroon steps up and beats him to it. You know, he'd have something to say, wouldn't he?
I did put in at this point in this encounter when they get to the temple with the statue of Kali.
Yeah.
I thought this might be another nice moment to show Jack's opportunistic nature, because I think by this time Kura's had enough time to study him and see what he's like to know, I know how I can get this guy on my side, have a shitload of money, and try and literally appeal to him to not do anything. Especially if we're now saying that Jack arrives before the rest of them.
Okay, I see. Oh, yes. So we get a nice little scene with Kura and Jack, and a kind of a bargain.
Yeah.
Do you think Jack would take it?
I think he would make Kura think he's taken it.
I like the cut of your jib there, yes.
Which also adds more weight to the fight as well, because Jack doesn't do anything. So it's all on Rashid and Haroon. So it gives them a bit more agency in the film as well. And again, it's that... it's breaking down that faith again that the Vizier has in Jack, because it looks like he switched sides.
Yes. So what do you think Jack's really up to? Well, I mean, it's occurred to me, Jack's a very observant fellow, as we noticed before. Mm-hmm. He must have noticed at some point he's got this file of funny stuff. He keeps throwing it at things and bad things happen. I'm wondering if he would use the switching sides excuse to try and...
pilfer some of it?
Yes, because if you remember, Tom uses the last of it to...
Yes, he does, yeah.
Drop the ceiling, doesn't he?
But you think Jack will pilfer some?
I think it would cross his mind to try. Goodness knows what he'd do with it at this point. I mean, I'm making this up on the fly, but I think he would definitely give it a try. I mean, it would complicate Kura's escape, but also he still has that tribe of green-skinned warriors. It'd just force him to call them onto the fight, so we'd get a different kind. Where we'd get ourselves a proper, well, almost swashbuckling fight. I mean, you know, they've got spears, so it's different. It's not like sword to sword, but you'd get a proper mass melee. Which we were commenting. I mean, like, we don't have any ship battles. Mass melee is probably
going to be the next we're going to get.
Yeah, the next best, really, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I don't see why not taking the opportunity there.
So, are we going to say then that at this point, or moving on from this point, Kura and Jack leave together, or Kura's basically paying him to do nothing?
Well, I don't know. I mean, the question is, does Jack succeed? And if Jack succeeds, does he do so without Kura noticing? Because the answer to that depends on those things. If he manages to sneak up and pocket palm the goods without being spotted by Kura, he might, and use it later to try and trap Kura somewhere else. If he gets caught, I'm imagining would be Kura's cue to go, oh, you're not on my side. Right, you guys kill them. I'm going to leg it.
Ooh, dear, it's a difficult one. I don't know, because I like both. Because I was thinking...
I like the second because it gives us the excuse for the mass melee.
Yes, it does.
A good battle. I mean, it's not like they're clear-cut bad guys or anything like that, but they are minions. Mm-hmm. You know, so it's you know... They
will stall them long enough, as it happens in the film.
And it's obvious they're not helpless. You know, they're perfectly capable of fighting. I just think it would be nice, a nice little extra scene.
Yeah, I like it. Let's go with that then. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Definitely. So yeah, he almost gets away with it, but eagle-eyed Tom spots
him.
Yeah. Which again puts Jack in an even more impossible situation, because first of all, he's rapidly losing the faith of the Vizier and all of his former friends, all of his friends. He's looks like he's making a bargain with the bad guy, but now the bad guy's turned on him.
Yeah.
So everybody is literally against him, which is probably where he likes to be.
Yes.
So that's why I'm thinking that when they lower Mariana into the pit for the Cyclops...
Yes.
Which I always thought there should have been something a bit more heroic from Sinbad at that point, because he seems to spend ages just watching.
Yes. Well, you see, this is the thing, because, I mean, from my point of view, Jack's going to be torn between chasing Kura and dealing with this situation. And he might almost be going after Kura, but as soon as the girl goes into the pit, that part of him that feels compelled to do the right thing would kick in, and he'd be forced to go and try and rescue her. You know, it's that bit when, like, nobody's doing anything. It's like the bit when he dives into the water after Elizabeth. Mm-hmm. It's that nobody's going to do anything.
I better do something.
All right,
yes.
You know.
how about this? A slight amendment to this, how this scene plays out. So we have the bit between Jack and Cora. He actually does successfully pilfer a small amount of this stuff. But Cora, before the battle starts, turns around and says, yes, we could go together, but you changed sides too quickly. I don't trust you. And that's why he leaves him behind. It's not that he spots him. It's just Cora's too clever to know that if you're going to change sides like that, then I know that you're going to betray me at some point.
Okay. Oh,
so actually, Jack meets his match in terms of
I'm not
Machiavellian. You know the one.
Machiavellian.
Yes. So literally, he goes, yeah, but no, and then sets the guys on him, which then triggers the fight.
Okay.
But he has got a little bit of stuff stashed away, which he could possibly use to create a diversion. Maybe throws it on another statue in the room, brings it to life, which scares our minions. And then he jumps up and slides down the thing to save the guy.
Okay, so you think Jack would try a bit of magic? Try his hand at a bit of magic, do you think?
Why not?
Okay. All right, yeah, no, why not? If we're going this far off, we might as well go this far off. I like it, yes. It's nice. Well, yes, that is. Jack likes to use people's shtick against them, doesn't he?
Exactly.
He does like to do that. Yes, I agree. That is a very Jack thing to do. Yeah. So that they cower back in fear. He's able to dive into the pit and to save the girl.
Sorry, a complete aside. I couldn't help but notice that the lead savage, for want of a better word, when I looked at him, he's like, he looks a bit like Arthur Brown.
After a brief moment of confrontation with the Cyclopean centaur, they manage to break free and escape into the caves. So obviously, Jack and Mariana arrive.
Yes,
at the fountain.
Yeah.
See, he put the first piece in, and he took the immortality because that's how he got his youth back.
Put the first piece in, he puts the second piece in, giving him the
invisibility, and it's the third piece that's worth the crown of riches.
Yes.
So how do you think this would go? This is before the centaur and the griffin turn up. This is just when they arrive, like when they first arrive and confront Cora at the fountain before the centaur turns up to complicate the situation. Do you think that Cora's going to threaten Sparrow at this point?
He's yes, I think he will because
at this point he's going to discover he's got no more of his potion.
This is true. He's out of magics, as it were.
Yeah, I mean it seems very clear to me that even though it costs him, he has to use the stuff to do his magic. So do you think he might try to bargain with Sparrow?
I'm not sure. I've got a feeling that would his actions to a degree will still play out as they do in the film, as he is 2/3 of the way to success.
Yes, he is.
He thinks that he has, and part of what lets him, what is his ultimate downfall, is he thinks he's over the finish line when there's still another 100 yards to run.
Do you think he's going to threaten him?
I think he probably will.
Okay. I mean, ultimately, it doesn't really matter because, of course, the centaur turns up and complicates the situation.
Yeah.
But I'm just curious as to whether it would be a bargain or threaten kind of a situation.
I think because he's already tried the bargaining and he knows how that goes. So.
Good point.
I must admit, my other thought with regards to Jack using the potion was going to be that he uses it on the corpse of the griffin.
What? Sorry?
Because the griffin loses, doesn't it?
Yes.
So I thought Jack might use it to bring the griffin back to life.
Oh, with the waters?
No. This is my other option for him pilfering the magic.
Oh, the magic. Oh, to bring it back to life.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, that changes things.
But I think doing it as a diversion from the worshippers in the temple is probably the better bet to go.
It's the better bet to go against. Yeah.
I must admit, when we get to the fountain itself, this was another point where I loved that there's this sort of mishmash of cultures in here. You've got obviously the clearly Arabic setting because of the main character in the original film, but at the same time you've got Kali, who's an Indian deity, and then when you get to the fountain itself, it's encased in a henge.
Oh yes, it's a very great a mixture of cultures.
Yeah, which I thought was really nice, and they all work seamlessly. So we get to the end. This is the other reason why I was right at the beginning. I was wondering about whether or not Jack has his pistol, because if he does, that's the final shot.
Of course it is.
Yeah,
of course it is. Yes, that's where I would have gone because it's It's the point of the shot in the other film, and so symbolically it has the same effect here.
Yeah.
You know, it's not for you, mate. I mean, and even though he's not going to be pointing his pistol at other people, he's saving it. He's got the one shot.
It kind of also kind of feeds into that thing which I know as role players, I'm sure it comes up many times, especially in fantasy role play, because technically speaking, his pistol is an anachronism.
Yes.
Does it then count as a magical weapon?
No. Middle Eastern chemists, alchem, had already created gunpowder hundreds of years before that.
Of course.
They may not have invented a gun, but they definitely had the gunpowder, so they knew about it. I think, of course, that more or less the fight's going to play out is as it does. As you say, it'll end with the final shot.
Mm-hmm.
It's the next bit, but immediately after Kura has been vanquished.
Yes.
That is the bit where I need to go, okay, now here's where things might slightly derail. Because at this point, Jack Sparrow has in his hand the one piece of the medallion that he knows will grant him a crown of riches.
Mm-hmm.
Now, of course, technically he's supposed to hand it over. Are we sure that's what Jack would do?
I did consider this, and I think I know what Jack would do at that moment. He's probably halfway there, and then something would stop him. He'd pull out the compass and look at it, and then I think he would hand it over.
All right, okay, that's a nice image, but you're going to have to explain your logic here.
I think Jack would see it as he sees a lot of things. Yes, there's a mountain of riches. Yes, there's a crown, a kingdom in front of him. But that's not freedom, mate. I think he'd be too constrained by the. I don't think he would take that.
Again, why not? He's a pirate. It'll buy him a ship and a 10 like it.
I also the thing came with ruling Arabia,
so you think it's the crown part that will change his mind?
Yes.
I see. Okay.
He can get, if somebody else is on the throne and doing their job, he's done them a huge service. He can demand pretty much what he wants.
I think I agree with your logic, although it might allow me to possibly suggest a slightly different image. That he has it, and his hand is halfway there, and already he can see the fountain filled to the brim with gold coins. Mm. But as his hand draws closer, the crown arrives from the water. And he stands transfixed, stares at it, pulls back his hand.
Yeah.
This isn't for me, mate.
Yeah, definitely. That works.
You okay with that? Yeah, alright, cool.
Because the other thing I think as well is, because we haven't really mentioned it so much this time, you got Mariana as well. There's obviously something going on there, and I think that's... Again, it's Jack. His heart's desire changes so often.
Yes, he is a fickle creature, isn't he? Yeah, he is. He is a fickle creature.
All of this stuff, he's found all of this stuff and it's fantastic, but also at the same time, so if this is true Lemuria, what else is out there?
Yeah, well, yes, indeed, yeah.
We get the end of the film as it happens. The Vizier gets his face back.
Yes, of course he does, yes.
There should be something. There needs to be a little Jackism at the end, but at the moment, I'm sorry.
I was trying to think, because he's going to be Jack at the end. You remember? This is one of those, it's a kind of a plot point that's disappeared upon a bit. Ahmed just gets sent back to the boat.
Ooh.
Send everybody back to the boat, give them all wine. That's the last time we see Ahmed. I reckon Jack's going to end up stealing the boat.
Yeah.
He'll be off-ski. Right, done my thing. You all know where you're going. I'm off-ski. There's a boat without a captain out there.
Do you reckon Haroon would go with him? We're saying Haroon. I think Rashid would step up and take captain of their boat.
Yes, I do. I think Rashid should stay with the crew.
Yeah.
But I think Haroon would follow him. I do.
Yeah, he's got a taste for it now, so definitely. That's a nice image. I can see that's a nice image. Just like so, the one ship sailing back off to Arabia and then them going off.
Yeah.
So again, you would pretty much end up with the same ending as Pirates of the Caribbean. Yeah. Him at the wheel of the ship with the compass.
Or at the wheel, but at the rudder.
Oh, the rudder, of course, yes.
But you can do the same thing. They sort of tuck it under their arm, don't they?
Yeah.
And lean into it, don't they? And just drink up me hearties, yo-ho.
Yeah. Nice.
And just lean into the wind.
Yeah.
A nice little ending.
with probably knowing Jack as well, lots of thoughts about how to redesign the ship.
Oh, of course. Of course.
Awesome. I like that. I very much like that.
They have wine on that boat.
They do have wine.
They've got booze on it.
Yes.
They definitely have booze on that boat.
Yes, they do.
Yes, of course Jack wants that boat.
Of course he does, yeah.
It's not rum, but what the hell?
Well, we should really raise a glass to having created a successfully new Jack Sparrow film.
Yes, indeed. To us.
Yes. I like it. I think it works. But of course, we are still some distance from deciding on which of these may or may not be a maybe movie, because we now have to look at Sinbad of the Caribbean.
Indeed.
This is one I think I had more problems with, more to do with later in the film. I made a lot of notes about the start of the film,
Yes.
because so much of the setup is here. And so much of that setup relies on backstory that is only revealed during the course of the film, which we don't have, because for a start Sinbad does not have the same connection with the Black Pearl.
This is why I was talking about the importance of Mr. Gibbs, because Mr. Gibbs appears to know nearly everything.
He does.
And that's why I thought he was so incredibly important.
Yeah.
He knows Jack's story, so he knows the story of Isle de Muerte, the Black Pearl, the Curse, all of the pertinent information.
Bootstrap Bill and all of that kind of thing.
Yep, yes. Yeah, he knows who all of those people are. Which is funny, because Mr. Gibbs was part of Norrington's crew when they found Will, and that would have been shortly after they realised they were cursed and the Black Pearl went on its crusade of destruction. Exactly. So how does Mr. Gibbs know about Bootstrap Bill?
But he would have known him as Will Turner, because...
No, because pirates talk. That's why they've got all these tales. Of course, that's why he knows.
Elizabeth says that she saw the ship 8 years ago on the crossing from England.
Yes.
So we have a timeline there.
And Mr. Gibbs... No, was it Mr. Gibbs?
Mr. Gibbs was still
working...
working...
it was one of those two guards said that the Black Pearl has been on a reign of terror for the last 10 years.
So I'm guessing that Mr. Gibbs was still employed by the Royal Navy at the time that they came to Port Royal, and since then his fortunes have gone downhill. Because even when he's talking about Jack, he says, oh yeah, that was before I knew him. So he must have met him sometime after the passage.
Yes.
So he wouldn't have put two and two together about Bootstrap Bill.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
the boy that they rescued on the ship.
Yeah, makes perfect sense.
There's so much of the film that doesn't feature them in it. It's still a lot of notes to make to try and see how this is going to work. Because the first 5-10 minutes of the film will play through as it does. The only time then when it changes is that we don't have Jack on his little boat. We have a 8th century ship.
Yes. So I'm going to suggest that we have to insert a small extra scene here. And because I haven't got an answer originally to my bones, I'm going to say simply that we will have a scene that introduces us briefly to Sinbad's ship, being caught probably in some terrible storm.
And when the storm subsides,
storm passes, they are on unfamiliar blue waters.
I put it down as lost under foreign stars.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Yes, but I do think we need to do a little. This is how they got here kind of scene, just even if it's only brief.
But that part wasn't too bad, because despite the difference in terms of why they're there or how they ended up there, their arrival in Port Royal will probably garner the same kind of reaction.
Well, look at them. They're foreigners.
And that ship, nobody sailed on that ship in not only their lifetime, but in their great-great-great-great-great-grandfather's lifetimes. Nobody's ever seen a ship like...
Strange crew, strangely dressed with strange money.
Yeah.
And there would be a bit of a hullabaloo.
Well, that was the other thing as well. When they do weigh anchor at the dock...
Yes.
And they meet the harbour master...
Yes. I was thinking almost immediately there's going to be fuss and trouble.
It's going to be fuss and trouble. He says, oh, there's a shilling. And obviously they don't know what shilling is, so he just gives them some gold.
Yes.
And he's like, that'll do nicely. Thank you very much.
Welcome to Port Royal, Mr. Smith.
Yeah.
But they would draw the attention of the guards.
Mini shout-out, if you like, to the harbour master, who was played by... I don't know if I'm pronouncing his surname right, guys. He's a Sina or Sina. Who was Lieutenant Gruber in Hello Hello.
Oh! I never even read. I didn't make a connection.
But so I think that part, it's just their presence. I did also think when they're sailing towards Port Royal itself, and when they see the pirates hanging up.
Yeah.
Obviously, they may not be able to read the English.
But they know what pirate saying look like.
I imagine there's like a cheer on the ship.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It'd be the exact opposit of what Jack does.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
And no stealing the Harbour Master's cash.
And instead of you've heard of me, it's you haven't heard of me?
I've taken sort of extended scenes. So the first one was their arrival.
Yes.
The second one that I put down, which covers quite a bit of action, I just put down as it is a pretty boat, which is which will be Sinbad on the dock of the Interceptor.
My thought is that although they won't look at them as they would, well, I don't know, they might look at them as pirates. They're sinister foreign. I'm going to use a pantomime trope. They're sinister, swarthy, foreign-looking gentlemen. They're wearing strange clothes, all that. So those guards would be like, "Oh, where are you going? What are you doing? Who are you? What's your business?" So they would initiate the conversation, even though the conversation wouldn't go the same way.
Brilliant. Because I had it as they've arrived, they've been told that they can go about their business around the town, and so that's what they do. And Sinbad being Sinbad, like most of them being sailors, they'll be fascinated by these ships, which is how he arrives at the dock. We swap out Jack's purpose for wanting to nick the ship for Sinbad's just fascination at this incredible vessel.
All right. Oh, I see what you mean.
And that's what brings him there. There's a chance. Oh, it's up against. I can go and get a closer look.
Oh, right. I mean, because like in the film, it's like there's the dock that Sinbad's now draws up at, Jack docks up at, and it's sort of down the end of that dock, round there, and round the other side of the rock is where the other ship is docked. So it's right there. Those docks are right there. That bit of rock right there is the cliff that Elizabeth falls from.
I must admit, in my head, I imagined, because in between that you've got the scene with the action with Norrington's ceremony.
Yeah.
So I thought, passage of time, he's wandered around the town a bit and then headed there. I didn't realise they were that close.
That's why I was thinking, how do I keep them on the dock? Because it's like while they're having the argument, she drops down into the ocean right next to them.
So Sinbad gives them orders to do what they would normally do when they first come into port.
Yeah, but as they move off, he would be confronted by the two soldiers.
Yes.
Who are you? What are you about? Etc. Etc.
And as you say, yes, quite rightly, well, you don't know who I am? No, that comes a bit later. But the only problem that we've got with this bit here is we cannot insert the exposition about the Black Pearl. Because he doesn't. Because it's brought up by Jack.
I think I have a solution to that. Because I know it's not the same bit, but it's in the vein of but you have heard of me. It's who am I? Haven't you heard of me? I am Sinbad, the pirate hunter.
Oh, Gold Star. Gold doubloon, sorry.
Thank you.
Definitely a doubloon for that.
I feel would naturally lead those two into a conversation about the most nefarious pirates in the region.
Yes, of course it would.
And why we haven't heard of you if you are such a great pirate killer.
Yes, of course, because as soon as they say that, they'll just assume he's a privateer.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's an employee. He's a private sailor in the employ of the British government to hunt pirates. But yeah, well done. Have two, definitely.
Because the whole conversation's about reputations, isn't it? And so Sinbad's they don't know who he is. He'd be just as offended as Jack is, but for obviously the other reason.
And then the two of them get into their argument about it, which is, well, they're talking about it. We seem to be on good terms. I'll go and have a look at the ship. And then, you're not supposed to be on there, mate.
Cue madness. And then, of course, in the background, that's when Elizabeth drops off the cliff.
And I think you'll agree with here, no prevarication, no stopping to talk to them. Oh,
whoosh.
Straight in.
Yep, straight in.
And this is where I have just put down a thing here. As I'm sure, I know we mentioned before on the show, we just did a little bit of a chortle about terrible writing advice.
Uh-huh.
And the fact that one of the things he goes on a lot about is you can just insert a love triangle, which there kind of is in Pirates of the Caribbean.
There sort of is, even though it's the joke.
Yes. But now, technically, we have a love square. Because Sinbad is very charming.
Yes! Well, that actually comes to my next point, and it's not like it's the scene that I want to talk about, but we have to talk about it. Because everything happens, Elizabeth drops off, he dives into safer, there's immediate confusion. Once again, he will be accused of being a pirate by Norrington.
That's what I had.
Sinister, swarthy, foreign-looking gentleman, probably a pirate. Sinbad will be offended. And then again, you haven't heard of me?
Mm-hmm.
I killed pirates. This would be this whole conversation. This kind of causes us a bit of a problem. Now, I can see Norrington being... You know what? No, I can see Norrington being the sort of man who would be stubborn enough to, like, well, of course I'm not going to take your word for it,
Exactly.
and force Sinbad into a situation where he has to escape. What I'm struggling to find is, why would he get into a fight with Will? That's the thing that...
Yes. Now, at this point, there was something that occurred to me, and this is part of the reason why I suddenly thought Sinbad is very charming, especially if he starts talking about some of his exploits. Because I know it's only slightly by implication, and some of the things that Elizabeth says later on in the film, she's reasonably well read.
Oh, yes.
Pirates of the Caribbean, I'm assuming...
She's the daughter of a governor. She's well educated.
But the other thing with this as well is...
Because her father's that rich.
As I found out from having a look at it, Sinbad, the stories of Sinbad are from 1001 Nights, but they are from a separate collection of stories, not the original that appeared in the 14th century, but they are from a separate collection of stories that appeared between the 17th and 18th century.
Okay.
Pirates of the Caribbean is quite definitely set in the 1600s, so it's entirely possible that she's read the exploits of Sinbad.
Are we going to be that meta? Are we saying... So we're just no, we're saying this is time travel. I suppose that's because that's what we have to acknowledge. If we're saying she's read about his exploits, that means he's a historical figure, and this is absolutely time travel.
The implication is always there, and it always was by putting Jack into his setting. So I think we're going to have to... We don't have to allude to it a lot, but just enough for her to actually believe in it.
Okay. To believe in Sinbad?
Yeah, to believe that he's at least read the stories and thinks he's him.
Well, all right. I think I see your point.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit meta, but I see your point. But where are you getting at? What does this mean? And where does that come into whether or not Sinbad fights well?
It comes back into what you're saying about reputation. She knows who Jack Sparrow is because of his reputation. As she says later on when they're on the island, "Are you the pirate I read about who sacked Nassau Port without firing a shot?" and all these kind of things. She has foreknowledge of who he is before she meets him.
Yeah. She reads about pirates. Sinbad's a pirate killer.
Mm-hmm.
That's your logic. All right. Okay. Yeah. I see. Yes. But again, that's a nice side note. But where does that come into whether or not Sinbad has a fight with Will?
It doesn't. It was just a bit of flavour.
Okay. Yeah. No. Lovely point. That is a lovely point. It's a nice thing. It's a little bit meta, but it's nice because it's meta.
My only thinking was that if he does get into a fight with Norrington, I would say because he has the thing that Jack doesn't has, he has crew that can help him get out of that situation. But in doing so, he gets separated from them. But you see, this is all predicated again on him being chained and having to go to a blacksmith to be able to get rid of his chains, which won't happen.
Yes, but we just said, because I believe Norrington would be stubborn enough to not take his word for it.
And clap him in irons.
Yeah.
Well, but that's the thing. But, I mean, I suppose technically speaking, we still have the same reason that that Jack and Will end up in a fight. Will thinks he's a pirate. He's heard on the grapevine that he's a pirate.
Because Will won't let him not fight.
Yes.
Okay, of course. I'm sorry, that should have been obvious. Because that's exactly why the fight happens in the first place.
Yes, because Jack wants to get away, and he just wants to get away. But it's Will that presses the point.
Okay, yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. My whole thing was...
No. It was a good thing, because it took me a minute when I was looking at the notes to think, how is he going to do this? I still think that happens, so we're still going with Sinbad ending up in prison. Yes,
because of the fighting.
Excellent.
He's accused of being a pirate, but it hasn't been proved because he doesn't have a brand.
Yeah.
But he attacked an officer of the
Navy.
Of the Royal Navy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, I'm wondering if you had gone with the same thing here as well.
Mm.
While he's in prison, he's not alone in his cell.
Who do you think is there?
There's a drunk former boatswain.
I was wondering, because of course he does come into the story quite a bit later.
Yeah.
And we kind of need him earlier. Oh, so like, when it comes to when the Pearl attacks, it's him that gets approached by the pirate who reaches through and gets his arm exposed into the moonlight. Exactly. And that would be Mr. Gibbs going, so the tales are true.
Yeah. And it's also him that goes, oh, I know those guns.
Yeah, of course, yes.
So the question here is then, are the rest of the crew rounded up, or are they out of it? If we say that they don't get involved, so they would still be on the ship. I was
thinking about this, but if his crew is free, they'll try and break him out. So I kind of think we need them to be arrested.
you want them all to be arrested as well. Okay.
Well, most of them. Because it's not a massive crew. It's not a massive boat, is it?
Yeah.
Ship. Sorry. I really should remember. It's not a massive ship.
Well, this is what I thought. I thought when the Black Pearl attacks and blows a hole in the wall,
yeah,
the crew can get out, but Sinbad can't. They can't get back in anyway to stealth, so they can't break him out, but they can get out. And I can imagine Sinbad, because he is still at heart a good man.
Oh, wait, no, I love it. Yeah, so they get out and we'll be back for you, Captain.
Well, I was going to say Sinbad actually says to them, go and help the people.
Ooh.
He's a good man. They've locked him up, but if they can prove that they're on their side...
Gold blue, nice touch, yes, because he is that kind of a guy. But one of them will stop on the way out and we'll be back for you, Captain.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
The only reason I say this is because I kind of like the idea that, so those guys are gone, it's the next day, I know I'm kind of jumping ahead, but Will breaks them out, and they're sneaking out of the castle, and on the way out they bump into the party members of the crew and come to rescue him, sneaking up the stairs the other way.
That's brilliant.
It would just be a lovely funny moment as they sort of creep up underneath the career. Oh, shit! What are you doing? I'm come to rescue you. I'm all right.
I did have an idea for this here as well, because it's one of the biggest plot. Unfortunately, I hate to say it. I love the film to pieces, and I hate to do this in any way, but it is quite a major plot hole when the Black Pearl attacks.
What's the plot hole?
They've got the whole place as sitting ducks, and at no point do they torpedo either the Interceptor or the Dauntless, or cannon. They're sitting there. They're not doing anything. They do nothing in that attack.
Oh.
They've got them dead bang.
I always assume that that's just a natural side effect of the curse. The ship is cursed in the same way that the crew is cursed.
Okay.
You can't sink it. Do you think the Black Pearl never loses?
No, that's what I'm saying. But the Black Pearl does not attack either the Dauntless or the Interceptor.
Exactly, because they're not worth worrying about. You can't kill us. You can't sink us. We need to knock down those cannons so our blokes can get up the beach and go and get the girl.
Yeah, they're not a concern because it can outrun both of them.
Outrun both of them, and if it came to it, they couldn't sink us if they tried.
Fair enough. Have another one.
Oh, thank you.
That solves that problem. But what I was thinking about that was looking ahead to what happens later in the film. One of the casualties of their attack is they cannon and sink Sinbad's ship, which means he's in the market for a new ship.
Oh, so you want him to steal the Dauntless? No, sorry, the Interceptor.
I think so.
Right. I thought that was just going to be a thing that we were going to skip over, but you want him to do it. To be honest, his ship is technically inferior. It's, 700-800 years out of date. Yeah. Although it was perfectly, I'm sure it was a very fine ship in its age. Just not, and you know, compared to the Black Pearl, no, they'll never ship the Black Pearl. I see what you mean. Yes, he's not a pirate. He needs a reason to have to steal the ship. But
it's also because it's another excuse, because in that, if that happens, he may lose some of his crew, which means to pilot the Interceptor, they're going to need a crew. And Mr. Gibbs knows where to find a crew. So we can still go to Tortuga.
We still don't need to go to Tortuga.
Which I think is wonderful, because as so much is made of Will turning pirate, imagine that for Sinbad. He's a notorious pirate killer, so now he's emotionally invested, because to be able to do this thing that he's going to end up trying to do...
He has to work with pirates.
Exactly.
He needs a ship.
Yeah.
He needs to steal a ship that makes him a pirate.
Yes.
Why does he need a crew?
He needs a crew that knows how to handle this ship, because his own people won't. They'll pick it up quick enough, but at the beginning, they won't. They're going to be floundering.
I see what you mean, yeah. They won't need a full crew, but they'll need a big complement to upgrade the abilities of the current crew. Yeah, I get what you're saying. You just wanted to go to Tortuga. That's fine.
Well, who doesn't?
Also, I love the idea of these Arabian guys reacting to Tortuga.
Yes.
Because, you know, there's like a scene and they walk past and there's a guy with literally like a stack of like 15 barrels of wine.
Yes.
And somebody's hacking open one of the barrels so the wine can gush out.
Yes.
This is apparently true. This really happened in Port Royal. They would spend up to 4,000 pieces of gold in a day, and they would buy a pile of wine and or beer and at gunpoint force passers-by to drink with them until all the beer and wine was gone.
That's fantastic. I never heard that. That's brilliant.
It really was that wild and crazy there.
Awesome. Oh, that is brilliant.
So these Allah-fearing Arabian fellas, the debauchery, I don't know where to look.
Yeah.
I don't know where to look. I don't know where to put my eyes.
Exactly.
And of course, Mr. Gibbs will be like, "Oh, drink."
Mm-hmm.
That's what you do. Why? Because they'll bang. See, that's what happens.
Yeah.
Why?
And again, things like that, guns and things like that, which would be. I mean, yes, I know as you said, gunpowder had been discovered. So, but
And there has to be an amazing conversation about hats, because nobody in Sinbad's crew wears a hat.
No, they don't.
They've either got turbans or headscarves,
Yeah.
or things like that, but none of them wear hats. And it's just such a huge thing in this particular time.
So Mr. Gibbs is going to say, if you're going to be the captain, I'll have to buy you a hat.
Yes. We're going to have to get you a hat. Nobody will take you seriously otherwise.
Before we get to that, because that's technically an
Yes,
act
we're
two,
actually, yes,
We
we're
are
getting
running
way
ahead.
ahead of things.
there is another problem that needs to be resolved.
Okay.
So it's the morning after.
Uh-huh.
We've done everything, as I said. So the crew have got out. They've gone to help the people as much as they can,
Yep.
which may ingratiate them enough that the crew will be left alone. Those that survive, their ship has been torpedoed and is maybe it's not been sunk, but it's not currently seaworthy.
It's not seaworthy, and there's nobody who knows how to fix a boat like that.
Yeah. Will comes round, goes to find Norrington as he does, and gets a bit stroppy and wants to do something.
And gets fobbed off.
Yes,
Yep.
but the only reason why he goes to speak to Jack is because the Marine mentions that Jack mentioned the Black Pearl, and that hasn't happened now.
Yes, but Mr. Gibbs has.
But he hasn't met Mr. Gibbs.
Mr. Gibbs is in the cell, isn't he?
But Will doesn't know that Mr. Gibbs knows about the Black Pearl. The only reason that
One
Will...
of Bard's heard. Mr. Gibbs likes to talk.
I'm with you now.
This is Mr. Gibbs.
Yes. It's just that because, again, thinking about it too linearly from the original film, it's that because that Marine had that conversation with Jack, which is why he brings it up in Norrington's presence,
Yeah.
which is Will overhears and why he goes to Jack.
Yeah.
Without that through line, I was like, there's no reason for him to go and look for Sinbad.
Far for me to ever flounder as a character, so this is not my intention, but one of the defining traits of Mr. Gibbs is he loves the telling of a good story.
He does.
He really lives for it. He really does. Any opportunity, anytime there's a random question, prepare for a 15-minute long Shaggy Dog story about exactly why, how, where, and when. So yes, I'm sure the guards. He'll have been talking the guards' ears off, just out of sheer boredom.
And that particular Marine, because he's one of the two that seems to get the grunt jobs, was probably on prison duty, overheard him and said, "Oh, that Mr. Gibbs was talking about that last week."
Yep.
Will would suddenly recognise the name. I know Mr. Gibbs because he was on the ship that rescued me 8 years ago. So, okay, I'll go and find him. But as a result, but also...
So that's even more of a reason why he would go and see Mr. Gibbs, because he does know him.
He does know him. And so the fact that Sinbad is in the same cell with him is purely... Oh, dude, that's fucking fantastic. Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, well done.
That's why I'm so happy you bringing Mr. Gibbs forward in the timeline, because that solves all these problems.
So, Kevin, if you're watching, we've just given you a bigger part. Give Disney a call.
You're okay with that, buddy?
Which kind of brings us up to the last point.
Yes, your last problem.
Well, no, that was the last problem.
Oh, that was the last problem.
Which we've solved. Which brings us up to the end of Act 1, which is commandeering and escape.
Yes. Well, right. You see, because that was going to be my next thing. Since we do need him, or we do have him needing to steal a ship, how is he going to do it? Now, he is very skilled, but he has a crew. So we've got, how do we do this? It's not going to work the same way that Jack and Will steal the Interceptor. Although it does... Oh, no. Would he be that clever? Because he already had the conversation about the Dauntless being a great ship, but the Interceptor is faster, so he knows that detail.
How about this? Their ship's not seaworthy, but they don't need to get that far. All they need to do is get far enough across the bay to get into trouble, so they send the Interceptor out to help.
Oh, I like that. I like that. Well, how are they going to do it? Is it going to be like, oh, we're sinking, help, help, help? Or they're going to fire a flare. That's
the thing I don't know. That's the bit I can't figure out, is exactly what kind of nautical trick they would use.
See, if it was Jack, might do something crazy like actually set the boat on fire.
Just scuttle it, and then they just, definitely.
I don't know, because part of me wants to say that Sinbad, it's his boat, though. It's his boat, but he really needs the interceptor. And because of the reputation these pirates have brought, he went to prison because people wouldn't believe that he was a pirate.
It's a good idea, but I don't think it's going to work because the other part of this, we're going to forget, is they disable the Dauntless so they can't follow them.
It's going to be weird. I don't know if it works. But what if he and Will do what Jack and Will do? They make like they're stealing the Dauntless.
With Mr. Gibbs? Or Mr. Gibbs is going to...
Mr. Gibbs, and the rest of Sinbad's crew, is going to hide in the hold of the Interceptor. So when the Interceptor's pulling alongside the Dauntless, everybody's attention is focused off the side. Up the stairs comes a complement of crew. Alright, lads, off you go, into the boat.
It does raise one small problem.
What's that?
How do they get onto the Interceptor without being noticed?
Sinbad's boat.
Oh, of course, yeah.
You could hide. Again, it's that bit of rock. It'd come round the seaward side of the rock, approach the Interceptor from the far side, then climb up on the prow.
Divide and conquer. So the Interceptor goes out to stop them stealing the Dauntless. At the same time, Sinbad's ship goes out and pretends it's sinking. So their attention is divided between the two, and that gives them the chance to go, yep, thank you, off everybody goes, we're on our way.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Did it.
Figured it out. I think we got there. Brings us to what I believe is the end of Act 1.
It is, yes. Obviously they're struggling a bit with the crew, so Gibbs will then chime up and say, I know somewhere we can get some crew.
Aye,
to bulk out the ship.
Yeah.
And that leads us into Act 2 on their voyage to Tortuga.
To Tortuga, yes.
And a whole other selection of problems, like how do we shoehorn Will's story in? But we'll come to that next time.
No, actually, I think that works pretty well because, like I said, I think Mr. Gibbs knows bootstraps Will's story. And when Will finally introduces himself properly to the crew, Mr. Gibbs goes, Turner, eh? I heard of a Turner once upon a time.
Yeah, that works.
Oh, because he even says, Will Turner, I'm named for my father.
My father, yeah.
I knew of Turner.
Yeah.
Folks called him Bootstrap.
And there's that big reveal that he was on the crew that saved him as a boy, and you knew my dad.
I heard of him.
Or heard of him, so yes, I heard of him.
I heard of him, yeah.
Despite my personal reservations about how this was going to go, we've managed to figure it out quite well, I think.
It's a bit tricksy so far, but I think we've smoothed most of the big wrinkles out.
We have.
So far.
I may have to then revisit my notes next time because there was a lot of stuff I couldn't write down because I didn't know how this was going to figure out.
Of course, yes. That's why I kind of didn't. I'm just figuring this out as we're going along, which is why I'm like, I think this is the next scene.
I tried to stay within convention, so I had 3 scenes, but then I had 2 honoraries because they were really important things, but so, I needed to say something about these.
I had 3 scenes, but then something you said changed things, and I was like, oh no, now I need to talk about this one. So, yeah, I know what you mean.
Brilliant. I think we're in a very good place.
So far, so good, yes.
As Jack would say.
Yep, things are moving along.
Cool. So, as always, thank you again for stopping by and joining us. And here's an idea. Why not come back next week?
That would be great.
When you can see how we wrap up Sinbad of the Caribbean and finally decide which of these 2 deserves the prize of maybe movies, or a maybe movie, should I say.
Yes.
And of course, if you do like what we're doing here, then please do consider subscribing to the channel. We are a small crew and we have room for more at the oars. I told you I'm going to get as many nautical things as I can. Until next time, as always, take care of yourselves and bye for now.
Take care. GTFN.
Ba 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 ba.